On February 20th, 2015, a frantic 911 call echoed from Samantha Wohlford's home in the heart of Texas. She claimed that 3 masked intruders had violated the sanctity of her home, restraining her and abducting her husband, Ernie Ibarra. Samantha, the grieving widow, was swiftly brought to the police station, initially seen as a key witness in this harrowing crime. Little did the officers know they were about to uncover a deeply disturbing twist in their pursuit of justice.
Dallas.
How long have you and Ernie been together?
6 years.
6 years. Now, all the kids that were in the house tonight, are those all y'all's together, or is that?
Younger 3 are.
Younger.
We got together when my daughters were 10 months old, my oldest daughters, and they'll be 7 next month.
Okay. So you got how many kids altogether? 5. Y'all been together about 6 years or whatever? Okay. I know there was an incident, I guess it was last year sometime, where y'all had gotten into an argument, got into a fight, and he had assaulted you and slapped the phone out of your hand. The phone wound up hitting, was it the youngest one? And the baby?
The middle one. The youngest. It was the brother to the twin. I keep wanting to say youngest because I guess that was you.
Yeah.
I don't know, Caden, I keep forgetting I had him.
Okay. So
but he was the baby of the second set of twins.
Okay. So I remember that was kind of a rough time there when y'all were going through that, when he assaulted you.
Yeah.
And we'd gotten a protective order for you against him to keep him away from you and everything. And so I'm guessing y'all had made up with him and gotten back together.
Mm-hmm.
How long after that assault happened did y'all get back together?
Ernie Ibarra had a history of domestic violence against Samantha. This provides a potential motive as to why Samantha might have wanted him dead.
And he came home.
Did y'all have any other problems going on in that time frame?
Other than just kind of, he's working 2 jobs and that's stressful enough, and he wants to come in and gripe at me and pick at me.
Sure.
Just typical, nothing bad.
Sure. So there hasn't been anything else going on as far as, I know you said something about you thought he might have been messing around on you.
He just randomly started coming home late within the last few weeks. Every day he's home late.
Well, I remember back when that assault happened back in 2014, if my memory serves me correct, that he'd been out at a party or a bachelor party.
Yeah, this was not late like that.
Right. I mean, it was back in 2014 that he'd been out at a bachelor party.
Crowded his dad's house.
Yeah, and was possibly cheating on you, messing around, and that's what that argument started over, and he wound up assaulting you.
The potential motive becomes stronger when we learn that Ernie not only abused Samantha, but was also cheating on her.
The phone out of your hand, which
in
turn hit the baby in the head. That's what all that had stemmed from on that. Has there been anything else going on as far as anything else make you would think he might be cheating on you?
Other than him just being home late, he gives me access to his phone, his email. He completely, I swear to God, saying there's nothing going on, but why are you home late every night?
What's your good instinct?
So far, I mean, it's back there in my mind saying that, yeah, I kind of thought that was the case, but there's no evidence to show that it was. Not like back when that happened, which, of course, after that happens, that's going to be my first shooting. He's already done it once, doing it again. But this time, I feel like there's something he hasn't been telling me, but I don't know what.
It's remarkable how comfortable Samantha feels talking about her relationship troubles with her now deceased husband. In the months leading up to his death, Ernie was coming home late, and Samantha tells the detective she suspected he might have been cheating again. But as we will see shortly, this is part of a more elaborate story.
Your gut feeling didn't tell you?
I think it's something to do with his dad.
What do you think would be going on with that?
I hate, and I'm usually right, and I hate that, but his dad has a problem with getting involved in things that he don't need to be getting involved with.
Such as?
Drugs. He's brought drug addicts to my house. I know for a fact. Like, they are drugged out of their mind. They stop by for a minute. It's been since before the last time he came out, because when I found out his dad was lying to me that he knew his son was cheating on me at that party and he was lying in my face, I told him I didn't need anything to do with him after that.
Sure.
So he hadn't been back around. Other than he stopped by like 2 weeks ago for about 10 minutes because he called his son, which is another reason I think it's something to do with his dad. He called his son on a day off. He works at Little Caesars on weekends. One of the reasons he was home late is he had to go up to Little Caesars to pick his dad a pizza up. He didn't even work tonight. Yeah, well, Dad was hungry. So you left job A, went by job B, that you don't even work today, had to make your dad a pizza, and what, take it out to his house? No. And then it was dropped, and then I was like, why is there a vehicle pulling in to drop? And it was his dad. Just stopped by to pick up a pizza. The pizza that he made for him. Well, the bat factory ain't very far from his dad's house. It's in Talco. His dad's house is in Talco. And with all of the things I've heard about Ernie and all of the things he's let slip about how good he is at dealing, I almost wonder if he wasn't trying to get his son started as one of his little runners and slowly starting him in. I need you to drop this off over at such and such location. I need to drop this off at such and such location. And he was making drops for his dad and bringing the money back. That's why he was so late every day.
Samantha claims that Ernie's dad was a drug dealer. The reason Ernie was coming home late from work is because he entered the family drug business. She's trying to build a story that Ernie's death may have been related to organised crime. However, when police investigated Ernie's father, they found no evidence of him being involved in drug dealing.
Using any drugs?
No.
What about you?
No. And I can take a test right now.
So have you had in the past used any drugs?
Me? No.
Never been involved in cocaine, methamphetamines, nothing?
No.
Ecstasy, no drugs at all? Marijuana?
Nope. I tried marijuana once, and it was not for me. I was like 15 and wanting to try things. I might have been 16. I was a teenager rebelling. And my parents always told me, no, don't do this.
Sure.
And the feeling it gave me that I'm not in control of myself feeling, I haven't touched a single thing since.
Well, over the last few days, last week or so, how's everything been between you and Ernie and the last couple of weeks? Everything been okay?
Other than and I've basically just ignored the fact that he comes home late and not said anything because I don't want to sit and argue with him about it, or I don't want him to feel like I'm attacking him. Other than him coming in with typical work stresses, he was late to work, so he had a bad day at work, and he comes in a bad mood, and dinner's running a little late, so he's snippy. But just typical spouse things, nothing.
What about those
severe.
finances? Everything going?
Finances have been great.
Things okay with that?
Yeah.
Not behind on anything? Of course, obviously, you understand when something like this happens involving a spouse. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the news. You've seen deals when the wife goes missing, you look at the husband, or vice versa. Look at the wife. If the husband's missing, we look at start with their inner core people, family, friends, all that, and then start working our way out. To make sure that rule all them out first to make sure that they're.
Well, I mean, you've got my family here. You can ask them. My mom talks to me every single day. Mm-hmm. She knows every fight we have, and she also tells me how freaking retarded and funny we are. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Well, walk me through today, or yesterday morning when you. What was your routine yesterday when you got up?
Yesterday, God, it seems like so long. Oh, like.
Yeah.
Like, it's 6 a.m.
Yes,
now.
ma'am. Yeah, well, it's, like Thursday morning, which was yesterday.
I got up. Things were fine. Kids were in bed because I'm homeschooling them now. I let them get up. I asked Harley to go get her something to eat because I just bought a bunch of like little handheld things that she could feed themselves breakfast because I don't go out and make breakfast. I'm not one of those moms. I'm not a morning person. I go and make lunch. Breakfast, if you wake up early enough for it, it's not going to be homemade like, hey, let's go all out.
Samantha spends an exorbitant amount of time talking about herself, saying she is not a morning person and generally gives pre-made food for her kids. While it's great to give detail, her talking about herself in this way does nothing to help solve the case. Her behaviour is consistent with narcissistic personality disorder, which is characterised by an inflated sense of self-importance and a lack of empathy for other people.
I came home. We watched some TV. We ate. No big deal, no fighting, everything was normal. He was actually in a really great mood. It wasn't even like he told me 5 minutes late to work. And usually that sets his whole day to be hell. Because he's, I guess, been walking a thread line with them on being late and things. And so that sets his whole day then. And so he's in a pissy mood all day. And he was actually in a really good mood. We have this app we play together. I have it on my phone, he has it on his phone. We sat and played on our app together. I make cosmetics. I started making eyeshadows and stuff, so I did that. And he read a book, which, unless the nightstand got messed up in the whole 9 yards, should still be there, sitting on the nightstand. Open to the page, like folded down the way he had it. And then he said he had to get in bed because he had to work both jobs today. And that, so we went to bed. He went to bed. I was trying to find the remote so that I could watch Vampire Diaries because I'm highly addicted to that show.
Again, we see Samantha's narcissistic personality disorder on display. The fact that she likes the show Vampire Diaries is completely irrelevant, but she never misses an opportunity to talk about herself.
I remember at some point, it was a little after 1, I saw the clock, maybe on my phone. So it's still pretty foggy because it's fairly early to wake up after taking a sleeping pill. Somebody jerking the blankets down, which startled me. And then something being pressed against my throat, and they grabbed me by the hair and started jerking me out of bed. I, at that point, wasn't even aware of what was going on with him until he already had me slammed face down on the ground and was tying my hands together. And I rolled my head and looked to the side and could see some commotion going on, but it was pitch black in my room. And they were all wearing black.
Could you tell if they had anything where they were able to see with, or how they were able to move?
One of them had, I don't know if it was attached to their gloves, because they were all wearing gloves. I don't know if it was like a mechanism that was attached to a glove, or one of those little like headlight things wrapped around their hand, or a flashlight. And it sounds crazy, but it seemed like his hand was open and he had a little bit of light coming, because it was like a little mini flashlight. It was small. I don't think he had a cell phone in his hand, because if I am remembering perfectly correctly, I feel like his hand was open and it still had light. So I don't know if it was something that was attached to his jacket, but that's how they were seeing. And he flashed it in my eyes at one point, which made seeing even harder. which is how I know for a fact, like, when he went like this and flashed it in my face, I swear his hand was open, so he wasn't holding on to something.
Now, were they saying anything or doing anything when they came into the room? When they were dragging out, what were they saying or what were they?
And the guy that was, it was all guys. I don't remember hearing a female voice. And to me, just a bunch of, shut up, bitch, don't make any noise, don't make me have to hurt you, blah, 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 and hold still, hold your hands together. And I was trying to be as cooperative as possible because I didn't want to die. I'll do whatever you say, just please don't kill me, I've got kids.
So when they drag you out of bed, what happens at that point once they drag you out of bed?
Drag me to the bed and slam me down, floor face down, and press the blade that he had against my throat in between my shoulder blades. And while he's tying my hands, there's a bunch of fighting going on, but I can't tell who's who or what's going on, just that there's other commotion going on, so I knew that they got him woke up. And then somebody that was dealing with him said, get me the fuck out of here, get me the fuck out of here. And that's when he dragged me over, not far from the kids' bedroom. And I was praying to God, they never went over there and realized there was any kids in the house. And they kept hitting him, Every time I kept tying things around his head because my eyes were adjusting at this point, and I'm able to see more. And what they were wrapping around his face was white. And they just kept wrapping around his face over and over. So basically, like, this part of his face down was completely wrapped up. I don't even know if he was able to breathe. I know that when they wanted an answer from him, they jerked it down like this. But before that, I don't even know if he was able to breathe. And they caught his hands on his back. And I don't know what they used to do that. I didn't see. And then they got him down the stairs and left me upstairs with a guy holding a blade on me. And I could hear him hitting him in the living room and yelling, but I couldn't tell what was being said. And then they told him to bring me down. And that's when he brought me down. And it was like they were just using me as a tool to taunt him so that he would talk, and I don't even know about what.
What kind of questions were they asking?
Tell me what you know, tell me what you know. I know that you know, but they would never let on to what. And then that's when his dad got brought up. He had one of ours put behind bars, so now I'm taking his. And they made him tell him where his ID was. And they pushed the lid in real deep in my throat and said, is he telling the truth? Is it one in the truck? It is. I promise you never take it out of the truck. Please don't kill me, it's in the truck, I promise. And they went out to his truck to make sure they had the right house. And they asked him who I was, and he said I was his wife. And they said, so she's just married into your family. She's not actually bled your family. And he said, no, that's my wife. They said, do you want us to have to kill her too? And he said, no, please don't. How are my kids? And they hit him in the mouth. Are my kids okay? And they hit him in the mouth, and he said we wouldn't fucking touch a child. And they flew out of his mouth. I don't know if it was a tooth or if it was just spit or blood. Something flew out of his mouth because they had the lights on down there. And that's when they started cutting my clothes off and making me stand in front of him naked. And it just felt like they were just using me to taunt him. And then when they made me go outside to tell him bye, I just knew they were going to shoot him right there. They had him in the execution position on his knees. I never heard a gunshot. But they took me back upstairs before they left.
Samantha tells a horrific story about 3 armed and masked men breaking into their house at 1 a.m, tying her up and kidnapping her husband. The 3 armed men talked about how Ernie's dad snitched on one of their associates, and they presumably came to kill Ernie as revenge. The story appears believable, and Samantha's emotional reaction to this horrific situation bolsters the story's credibility. However, it is strange that she waits until more than 20 minutes into the interview to say this. If she knew that the perpetrators were somehow involved with Ernie's dad, this is obviously important information. You would think she would have told this to the police much earlier.
You don't know why they took his pants off?
No. I know there was yelling, but there's no way to see what's going on upstairs without trying to get over to the balcony, and I had somebody holding a knife on me. And didn't want to draw any attention to the kids' room at all.
Right.
And the only place that you can see into the living room is right next to the kids' bedroom door.
Now, did you hear anything at all that they were saying or what they were talking about as far as...
Not when I wasn't in the room.
Okay. When you were in the room, what were they talking about? What were they saying?
Mostly just, your dad caused this. Keep this in mind. Your dad caused this. And then he would throw jabs at him about being a terrible husband or unappreciative of his life. You have a wife that loves you. Look at her face. Isn't she beautiful? Look how much she loves you. Look how much she's crying.
If the kidnappers were really members of organised crime, it seems quite strange for them to be talking about Ernie being a terrible husband. It's even more strange that they would talk about him being unappreciative of his loving and beautiful wife. Remember that according to her story, the kidnappers didn't even know her. It appears that Samantha is projecting her own feelings onto the kidnappers. For a variety of reasons, she believes Ernie was a terrible husband who is undeserving of her. When the detectives searched Samantha's body, they did not find injuries consistent with the violence she claims to have suffered that night.
And as far as you yourself, you didn't have any involvement in this whatsoever?
No.
You and Ernie didn't get into a fight?
No.
Things didn't get out of hand?
No.
You didn't shoot him, you didn't stab him, you didn't hit him with a bat?
No.
A piece of metal, kick him in the face, you didn't do anything to cause any kind of injuries to him?
No.
Okay. You're positive about that?
Yes.
Like
I said,
if find out anything any different about that.
No.
Right now, what we've got is, I don't know if you're familiar with what they call tracking dogs, okay, that track scent and everything. I've got those dogs. They're probably already up at your house right now. That came from the prison in New Boston. Okay,
that's what I asked that guy. One of the other deputies was, "Can I give you some of his clothes? Go search the area where his cell phone pinged."
They're going to be tracking that area where his cell phone. They're going to be tracking the area there at the house. But what I have to make sure from you is that you absolutely had no involvement in this whatsoever.
No.
Okay, so you two weren't fussing, you weren't fighting, didn't get out of hand, you didn't punch him, kick him, stab him, shoot him, nothing like that. I'm not going to find out anything any different later once we get there, because the deputies, they're out there right now, basically searching your house from top to bottom for every piece of physical evidence that we can find.
Anything that'll help them find it.
Sure. Well, like I say, that's why I want to make sure, because we're going to be checking your phone records, your family's phone records. Was there anybody in your family that's involved in this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Not that you're aware of?
No.
Okay. Would there be any reason why any of your family members wouldn't be involved in what hurt Ernie?
Brett's had problems with him in the past, but as far as taking it to the point of kidnapping him, no.
Okay. So you think, well, obviously you know Brett's boy, so
I would know Brett, yes.
Okay, so
very well.
So you don't feel like Brett had any involvement in this? What about your mom or anybody? Any of them got any problems with Ernie?
No.
To the point they don't want to do something like
They've had their little problems or whatever, but nothing that would go to this level, no.
Okay. And I'm not going to find any kind of evidence to the contrary that you were involved in. What about a polygraph? Would you be willing to take a polygraph?
Yes.
To prove to me that you had no involvement, no knowledge, no nothing involved in this? So that's probably going to be a possibility, depending on what we're
Sorry, my Facebook's attached to my phone and it vibrates every time somebody makes a status update.
I understand. But part of the procedure also, like I said, we're going to be, checking your phone records for the last few months. Are we going to find any kind of, establish anything as far as anybody that's involved in this and not connected to your phone?
No.
Okay. You're sure about that?
Yeah, I would recognize a voice that I knew.
No, I'm talking about as far as you being involved in your husband's disappearance?
No.
Okay. So you had absolutely nothing to do with it?
No, I had absolutely nothing to do with this. I would not be this cooperative if I did.
Okay. Well, I mean, just because a person cooperated doesn't mean they didn't do something. Obviously, if someone wants to throw us off.
Have I thought about it? Have I thought about stabbing him? Oh, more than once.
Okay.
Have I thought about shooting him if I had a gun? The thought is, and I'm not going to say the thought hasn't crossed my mind. He's had me to the point that I wanted to kill his ass.
Okay. And that's what happened last night?
No.
He didn't have you to that point last night?
No.
Here, for the first time in the interview, the detective lets on that he suspects Samantha may have been involved in her husband's kidnapping. As she denies any involvement, the detective keeps pressing on in an effort to wear her down. Through his skillful questioning, the detective is able to get Samantha to admit that she had thought about killing her husband in the past. This is clearly not part of her pre-planned story. She was caught off guard and let this admission slip.
We were not fighting at all.
So what would get you to the point where you want to shoot him or stab him?
To see him lay his hands on my kids.
When's the last time you did that?
Back when I had him arrested.
And he hasn't laid
And I
his
informed the
hands?
cops then, he's got to stay away from me because after doing this to my kids,
But he hasn't done
No.
it since? Okay.
no, that was one of the stipulations on us getting back together. He is not allowed to discipline them at all.
Okay. So as far as last night?
No, we were getting along great. There was nothing.
Okay. So I'm not going to find anything to the contrary to show nothing. Deputies aren't going to call me here in a few minutes and say, hey, look, what we found here on the scene's not matching what she's telling us.
No. And the only thing on my phone that wouldn't say to the contrary is he sent me a text message that said answer your GD phone. Because he said he called me over and over and over and over and over, and I wasn't answering when I was up at the hospital.
But as far as last
But then when I got, this was yesterday, and then when I got home, things were fine. I expected to walk into him being mad because he swears he called me a million times and I didn't answer. But when I walked in the door, things were fine. I hope you had fun, baby. And he was just so calm and happy and loving.
And what about the blood? How were you up close with him when they punched him?
Yes.
Okay, so you think there might be some blood on him?
Well, I didn't, inspect for
Right. Well,
splatter or anything like that. When they jerked me away from him and cut my clothes off, I never touched him
so it's
again.
possible that
So there may be. But is it because I laid my hands on him? No, my hands were tied behind my back. And I'm watching this guy punch him in the face with a gun over and over.
How'd that make you feel?
Horrible.
So
I was hysterically bawling.
it didn't make you feel glad or
No.
there's some torture or
No.
because you told me that you felt good about wanting to stab him, kill him.
At some point in time, everybody loses their temper. But have I ever acted out and hurt anybody? No. And you can look at my record on that. I have one count of criminal mischief, and that was because I tossed my keys to somebody and let them use my car.
Sure.
And they didn't have a license.
Now, when they cut your shirt off of you, was it violent, or they just took
Yes.
their time and just?
No, well, they jerked it out and started slashing at it with this apparently dull box cutter, and then when it didn't work, ripped it off over my head and threw it to the side.
So it wasn't completely cut in half, or anything?
No, they started cutting like they were going to cut it down or across, and the blade wasn't working, so they said, fuck this shit, and ripped it off over my head.
But as far as tonight, you had nothing to do with
No.
this experience. You don't know who did anything.
No.
With this experience. You're positive about that.
Yes.
See,
The detective pulls up his chair so he is sitting right in front of Samantha. This is an attempt to intimidate her into confessing. As the detective's questions become more forceful and direct, Samantha starts panicking.
look me in the face. I need to know the truth. Did you have anything to do with Ernie's disappearance?
No. And I
Did you have anything to do with his death tonight?
No. Dead. He's dead?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yes, if he is dead, no.
Do you think he's alive?
I hope so.
Did you have anything to do with it?
No.
You had nothing to do with his
No.
disappearance? Nothing. If God forbid he is found deceased, did you have anything to do with it?
No.
Did you hire someone to do it?
No.
You had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with
Absolutely nothing. Then I've heard it's gone. They're just like holding him to get at his dad. Yeah, I really, really don't want to have to play the funeral for my husband.
Well, like I say, the reason why I'm having to ask you these tough questions is because I need to know. I need to be
I
absolutely.
know that they always look at the
I
spouse
know,
first.
I have to be absolutely positively sure you had nothing to do with this.
I know. No, I'm not.
The next day, Ernie's body was found in a nearby wooded area with a gunshot wound to the head. Police examined Samantha's cell phone and were able to uncover deleted text messages with 3 men: Jose Ponce, Jonathan Sanford, and Octavius Rhymes. She told them that her husband was beating her. Feeling sympathy for her, they agreed to stage a home invasion to kill Ernie. There was no financial motive for these 3 men. They were acting as vigilantes who decided they would be the judge, jury, and executioner for Ernie Ibarra. Samantha was convicted of masterminding the plot and is currently serving a 99-year prison sentence.